It's good afternoon. Welcome to Yellow Shelf, Toby Hammerschlag. Thanks for being here.
Okay. Yeah, and thank you for the opportunity for the interview.
It's my pleasure. Your first time to Yellow Shelf, but this is your second novel. Tell us all about your newest book, Looking Out and Beyond.
Okay, so this is my second book, as you've just said. The first book was called The Rooftop, and it was 8 years ago, which I can't actually believe. And the first book, I'll just tell you very briefly, it was about four children. It's very much a Sydney-based book, and it is the unlikely friendship of four children who come together from different backgrounds, social, economic, religious, and yet they form a friendship. And they each bring their own stories and obstacles to 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 their relationships and their friendships. So that
Yeah.
is really the first book. But the second book, Looking Out and Beyond, it's taken me 5 years to write. And I am an ex-South African. I immigrated to Australia in 1986. I can tell you a little bit about that background later. Um, but I was brought up during the apartheid era, and I've always wanted to write that book. Um, the book is set in rural South Africa in 1952 and has a subplot of Second World War. Now that might sound quite strange to have those two plots that sound quite different, but they're not. But they do interlink into each other. And at the end of the novel, which I hope you read, it all becomes clear. Um, the protagonist in the novel is someone called Ada. She's a 12-year-old girl, and she lives an insulated life on a farm in rural South Africa, as a lot as everyone who was a white South African did. And she didn't look out and beyond the farm to 5 kilometers away where the black people were forced to live or to experience. And on the periphery of her life, does she notice that people are being thrown into the back of police vans because they don't have the necessary identification. And these are people of color, of course. And slowly, and she develops a relationship with a girl called Nicky on the farm. Nicky is the daughter of one of the helpers or one of the workers on the farm. And she's a person of mixed descent. And it's through her relationship with Nicky that her world begins to open up. And she begins to understand the horrors and the challenges of the everyday life of a person of color. And and initially I vacillated between writing in the first person and the third person. And but what I ended up doing, the first person's narrative is about Nicky, not about Nicky, sorry, about Ada and the farm life. And the second narrative, which is written in the third person, is about the Second World War. Now, Jonah, Ada's father, is a returned serviceman, and I have him fighting in the Second World War in North Africa in the Desert War. And so that's written in the third person. But when both plots come together at the end, the third person becomes the first person, and
Okay.
it all merges. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Wow. And Toby, tell us I mean, this book's been described as historical fiction, and obviously that
Yes.
links back to your South African descendant. Tell us what was the inspiration to write this book, and anything we need to know about you, Toby.
Okay. So I'll tell you just a little bit about myself. I was a
Mm.
special ed teacher for 30 years. We left South Africa in 1986. We wanted to leave for a long time, but in 1985, a state of emergency was declared in South Africa, which meant that civil liberties were thrown out the window. So,
Mm.
in other words, you could be detained
Yes.
without being charged. And the minute that was declared, the next day we were planning our departure.
Yeah.
Um, so as I said, I was a special ed teacher for 30 years, and when I couldn't find a text for my students that I thought was appropriate, I used to write the texts.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I haven't kept them, but I always wanted to write a book and didn't have the time to do so. And so when I retired after a long career, I started writing. All right, and now we're going to the inspiration for the book. The inspiration for the book was a family that I knew, and I know the daughters of this family who lived in rural South Africa. And they lived on a farm. And now in rural South Africa, most of the people were staunch supporters of the government.
Sure.
And so for them to go against it was quite a brave act. And the people of color had a completely inferior education. But these people started started a school on their farm for the black children. And these people are the inspiration for the
Yeah,
book.
that's beautiful. Toby, tell us if we're watching this anywhere in the world,
Yeah.
what is the best way we find out more about you, we connect with you? I know you've got a website. How do we get curious about your new book?
So you can go to my website, type in Toby Hammerschlag, and there it will be. But you can also get the books through Woods Lane Publishers or through Amazon. And of course, if you'd like to contact me, which I'd love you to do, then just contact me on my email, tobyhammerschlag@hotmail.com.
Fabulous, Toby. I will put those notes in the show notes to make it easy for anyone to connect or to find out more. Toby, just curious, my last sneaky question is, would you continue to write? Is there more books in this journey?
I've certainly got ideas
Yeah.
that are floating around in my head, but
Yeah.
at the moment I'm still so involved with this story and the story and the characters are still living with me.
Yeah.
So I have to put them to rest before I could actually write something else.
Yeah, no, that is completely understandable. And I think as an author, it's wonderful to enjoy the journey when your book's launched. And yeah, you need to enjoy this time. So thank you so much. Good luck with it all. If there is future books, I would love to have you back on
Uh,
Yellow Show.
thank you so much, but it might be in a few years' time.
That's okay. I'm sticking around. Toby, lovely to meet you. All the best.
Thank you, Joe, and thanks for this
Cheers.
opportunity.